Alright guys, today we're going to try making the wheel of the miniature train on OnShape. So the wheel is right here. This is the dimensions for it. And the thing with the wheel is this, it's not actually that hard of a part to make. It just looks ridiculously hard because the dimensions on here are terrible. That's why it's hard to make. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you this. When you're making this, and I'll zoom in a little bit here. These little fillets, and I don't know how well you can see them where my mouse is here. These little fillets, it's not going to be all that important if they're all perfect. Because again, they dimension it really poorly in this thing here. So we're not gonna lose sleep over this whole thing. So like I said, once you get the dimensioning down, it's not too bad to make. I made the whole thing in a relatively short amount of time when I did it earlier. So I go to my OnShape folder, I'm in my practice folder here. Let's make a document. We're going to call this wheel. Now the way we make this is you're going to want to make this part right here, and then we're going to revolve it. And then we're going to cut the holes in, and then we're going to add this little peg right here, the one you can see in this little cut view. So we're going to start with this, and this is where, again, I said it's a ginormous pain. So you're really just going to want to kind of follow me step by step, and you'll screw up when I screw up, but then I'll fix it, because I'm sure I'm going to screw up here. So here's the trick. From this little center point, from this center mark right here, and I'm hoping you can see my mouse okay. So from that center mark to the middle of this is 1 inch. Okay, but we don't want to go to the middle of this whole thing necessarily. We just want to make this part right here. So, sorry, my mouse is getting stuff in it. So we notice that this is actually 0.28 inches in diameter. This here is a radius, so that actually gives us a 0.14, which tells us that from this edge right here to this center mark is 0.86 inches. So let's start out with that, and we're a 1/4 of an inch thick there. So let's start out with that. We'll do a sketch at the top. All right. Line. Why is it not making a line? Sketch top. Line, there we go. Okay. So there's a line, and we will make that there. Okay, let's dimension these. I said that was 0.25, and this is 0.86. All right, so right now we have this kind of L-shaped feature right here. So now we need to put this little this half circle on the end. What I found the best way to do that is just to make an actual circle. It's going to be diameter of 0.25, so we're just going to make that. So let's zoom in here. Let's make an actual circle. Let's make it and we can dimension from there to there is 0.125. There. So diameter of 0.25, and then you noticed I just made this center point here, and it doesn't look like it's exactly even. But I made this center point 0.125 from that point there. Now I need to make this center point to here, and see how that's a little bit shorter than that. So I need to make those the same as well. And that pushes that circle right exactly where I want it. Okay, so follow me so far. So this is a 1/4 of an inch. This line is 0.86. And then I made a circle that is 0.25. And the center point to there is 0.125. And this thing here I made just to make sure that circle was parallel. I needed this point parallel to that point. That's what I needed. Now, I've got basically from here over, down and around. Now from the center point of this to where this thing curves in is 1/4 of an inch. So what we're going to do is we're going to make another line here. And I go from here, and see how it makes a little dotted line there? I could go there, straight up, escape it, and that needs to be 1/4 of an inch, so 0.25. Now, the next thing is here. So see how this curves in? So right in here, this it curves back into the left, goes up, and then curves back out to the right. What I'm going to do, and this is 0.125 inches where it curves in there. You're going to see, here's what I'm going to do. And this, again, this is not perfect, but it's basically the best that we can do. Really, I mean, we could do it better if we really got specific. Okay, this should be 0.125, and then we're gonna go make another line here, here, here. Okay, so see how this is all blocky? We're just going to use the fillet tool, and the fillet tool is the sketch fillet right here. And we're going to use that, and so I clicked on sketch fillet. It should be highlighted, and then click there. Okay, and it made it 0.07. And then I click there, and I made that one 0.07. And it wouldn't quite do it because there was something wrong with it. So I think that second one was a little too big there is what it was. I think actually if I look, I think it says to make the fillets 0.0625. That's what it is. 0.0625. Now let's make the fillet here. And let's make it. There we go. So see how it made that blue? It was red. So that's better. And then here, that, and that. And we got it. So I made all those fillets 0.0625, and then they should all work. Now you notice here how mine does not look exactly like this does. This is a little smoother, a little cleaner. It's not going to affect the part in the end. So don't worry about it. Don't lose sleep over it here. All right, now we can back out of this a little bit. Now here's the next part that we're going to do. We need another sketch. We just need a line. Just a horizontal line. And we want to dimension that 0.14 away from the top of this thing. Okay. Follow me? Good. That's going to be what we revolve our part around. So we've got two sketches. Sketch one is this. Sketch two is that line. Now we're going to use revolve. It's the second thing over here. So I click on revolve. I want to revolve this whole thing. Revolve axis. I clicked on that. Boom. And there's my wheel. You'll see that again. So I hit revolve. I clicked on the part, and then I clicked on the circle. I want the entire thing orange, like outlined in orange. And I come over here, I click revolve axis, and I clicked on that sketch 2 line, and then I hit the check mark. And that's all I needed to do. And now I have that wheel with no cutouts or no anything like that. All right. Now we're going to make these 6 holes that go through the rim. That's our next thing. And down here, it shows you on the back side how to make them. So basically the way we're going to do this, see if I can see if this shows up. We're basically going to take a line, and we're going to make a line that goes straight up through there. I change the color and make this show up a little better. Maybe make that a little thicker. Yes, I want green. No, I clicked on green. There we go. And size, make that a little bigger. So basically we're going to do this at a 30-degree angle and this at a 30-degree angle. So we're going to make two lines. And then we're going to make a circle here on this outer and a circle that follows the inner part of that. And then we're going to cut everything away and just make that little section. So you'll see it'll work pretty well here. So we got to look at the back of the wheel. So I notice I just flipped it around. Oops. I'll look at the back of the wheel right here. Now we can zoom in. Okay, so let's start out by making the inner and outer circles. So the inner circle has a radius of 0.375, outer circle 0.625. So we're going to make a sketch. Circle. Uh, 0.375 would come out to a diameter of 0.75. And then another circle. And 0.625 would come to a diameter of 0.125 or 1.25. Good. So 0.75 for the inner, 1.25 for the outer. Now our lines. Just a straight line there. Just a line there. Now we dimension between the two lines. That was a 30-degree angle. So see how it pulls that line into 30 degrees? Now we get to cut away everything that's not right here. Boom. Now I need to do a circular pattern of that. So we're going to click circular pattern. It may show up as linear pattern for you to start with. You got to click on circular. And then you're going to click the things that you want a circular pattern of. And it's not making it right. Oh, there we go. Now it's kind of weird. See how like I made it? So let me try this again here. Undo. So with the circular pattern, you click on it, and then you click the parts, and see how this weird thing over here kind of showed up? Ignore it for a second. Just click your four sides. And then this took me a while to figure out. You got to click this part here in the middle and drag that to the middle here. And see now how it lays out these three things. So now there's three parts. Well, I just changed. It says 3 times. I'm going to change it to 6. And now that gives me my 6 parts there. So a little weird, but that's how that works. And now you can see there's those 6 spots. So I'm just going to cut those out. I'm going to use the extrude tool. Click on remove. And then click on each one. And there you go, got it out. So there it is from the front. So the last thing we need to do, we got to add this part here, this little nubby part here. So it is, the middle of it, it's 0.7 from the very middle of the circle. And you can see with this, it's kind of hard to read here. Basically, see how that's a, I guess you'd call that a extruded cylinder, and then there's a smaller one attached to that, and there's a hole in the middle. So basically it is an extruded cylinder of 0.25 inches. And that part is 0.7. The middle of that is 0.7 from the midpoint of this. So we're going to go back to here, and we're going to look at the back, because the back is easier to work with than the front. And we're going to make another sketch. And we are going to make a circle. And we're going to dimension that circle to 0.25, because that's what that's supposed to be at. And we're going to make that 0.7 away from the midpoint, which it's not letting me choose. Not sure why it's not letting me choose the midpoint. Okay, let's try this again. Let's try making a point there. Now let's try making a, see if this lets me do it. So 0.25. Now 0.7. So I just had to make a spot right there, make a point there. I'm not sure why it made me do that, but it did. Now, the only thing I need to do, see right now how it's going to cut through some of that? I need to actually bring this down here a little bit. So I need to actually move it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to move it. I'm going to undo these two things. I'm going to undo that as well. So I'm going to put a circle there. There you go. It'll put it right out there. All right, so let's finish that. And again, we can extrude this. I'm going to kind of turn this so I can see. And I want it to go the other way. So I click my arrow, it goes the opposite direction. And it needs to extrude, so it needs to go through the thickness of this, which is 0.25 inches. And then it needs to come out an additional, actually it's 0.125 there. Then it needs to come out an additional 0.375. So it's going to end up being 0.5 inches total that it's going to be extruded out to. So I'll change that to 0.5. And now you can see that part. Perfect. Now, go back to here. We have this smaller cylinder that extrudes out through it. It has a diameter of 0.125, and it is 0.125 long. So now, easy part here. Oops, wrong thing. Sketch. We want to sketch a small little circle on here. Dimension that 0.125, and then we're going to extrude it 0.125. Let's just make sure it's extruding out the right way. Yes. Now the very last thing, we need to put a hole in that. So the hole is 0.0625 and it goes down 1/4 of an inch, 0.25 inches. So the very last thing here, we'll put another sketch on here. And we'll put another, let's look at it. 0.0625, and then we will extrude that back in 1/4 of an inch. So we will remove 0.25. And notice how now that's in there. So that should be our whole wheel. It looks good. It actually ends up looking a lot cleaner than what we could do on Inventor sometimes. But it just takes a little bit of time. It's a little bit of practice. But that's the wheel.